In this video, I'm going to be installing this fuel injection kit into this Volkswagen Beetle. This is the bit we have to start with. I've had a leaf through this book already. There are some aspects of this book are specific to the Beetle, but most of it, to be honest with you, is generic. So we have to do, there is some stuff that's going to be open to interpretation, so we do have to look through it. Now, look, to be honest with you, if you're buying this kit, you're going to have this book yourself as well. I'm not going to go and read through all of this to you guys. I'll read it off camera, and what we'll do is we'll feel our way through. This is not an instructional video, folks. This is a video that's there for entertainment and for you to see whether, maybe make a decision as to whether or not you think it's actually worth it to do to your car, and what route you might take. You might decide to learn from a few of my mistakes, and to be honest with you, that's a great way of learning as well, because I'm surely going to make a couple of small mistakes along the way. I'll just have to make sure that they're not biggies. So we are going to just feel our way through this, and you guys are going to join me along the way, hopefully. So I'm going to have a look through this, and we're going to see what the first steps are. Up until this point, I have been in touch with classicfuelinjection.co.uk a few times, and I found him to be very helpful and quick to respond. So that's instilling me with a lot of confidence from the get-go. And there will be a few things that I need to kind of ask questions about and all that sort of stuff as well. And what I'll do is, if I get an answer to a question, I'll report back with the answer. First step in the process is going to be modifying our distributor with this kit. So what I need to do is, it does say before you start conversion, run the engine, set ignition timing to 10 degrees before top dead center, stop engine, rotate. Okay, it does say it's not essential, so if this is not possible, then don't worry. To be honest with you, I'm not going to do that because I can easily rotate the engine to any position because I've got a degree pulley on the engine, so we know what position the engine will be at any given moment. What I do need to do is make sure that it's at number one cylinder on the compression stroke. So I've actually done that off camera, but I'll show you that now in a second. And what we'll do is mark everything out. So distributor and ignition system, do this step first. Our system, when completed, allows full ECU control of the ignition system with a fully programmable 3D map. So not only is this ECU going to control your fueling, it's also going to control your ignition system as well. So modify distributor, remove from the vehicle and disconnect any vacuum advance mechanism and remove contact breaker and condenser. I don't have a condenser fitted to this, but what I do have is a Pertronics module, which I'm not going to be using anymore in this context. I'll keep it in my stock though, so that if I do actually have another vehicle come through my shop that needs it, it'll be there for it. So we need to take out all of this gubbins here. I'm just taking off the vacuum advance module here first of all, because this is not going to be needed. Take that off. Now there are two what look like 8mm nuts. The Pertronics kit is actually quite well installed and has good grommets and everything like that on it, so it's a little bit finicky to remove, to be honest with you, but that's alright. Especially with the fact that I had to unwrap all of the Tessa tape that was around the harness for it. But anyway, that's most of it out. So I just have this little plate here to remove as well. To be honest with you, I'd imagine there's a lot of people who are going to be doing this conversion would be converting from the likes of an electronic ignition module to this rather than going directly from points. So there we go. So even if you have an electronic ignition module, you're going to be swapping it out for the one that comes with the fuel injection kit. So there, that gets us down to the basic distributor as such. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to take out this distributor plate, and I'll show you the reason why now. Alright, so that comes out now. So now, that gives us access to our flyweights. Now our flyweights need to be locked, because we cannot have flyweights in the engine because the advance is all going to be handled by the ECU. So what we are going to do is, you see these tabs in here and here? I'm actually going to bend them over, and what that will do is it'll actually just hold the flyweights in, and then that basically locks it. And this is the simplest way to lock your Beetle's distributor. So those flyweights now can't move anymore. And that's exactly what we were looking to achieve. You don't need to go welding the shaft, you don't need to go permanently modifying the distributor at all. Now what I'm actually going to do while we're at it is I'm actually just going to clean that out a bit with a bit of brake clean or something like that. Just so that we're starting off on the right foot. I mean, as I said, the mechanism is not going to need to move anymore. All it needs to do is that. And it's doing that fairly well. So that's one job ticked off the list now. Right, so now that the flyweights are locked in, the next thing we need to do is to lock the two halves of this plate together. And I've already done that off camera. So basically all I did was I just drilled through there. There was actually already a hole. I just widened it out and put a little nut and bolt on that. And that's absolutely fine. So the nice thing about what I've actually done here is if for some reason or another, which I can't foresee, but if for some reason or another I actually want to reverse what I've done, I can do that. So yeah, next thing to do is we are going to start reassembling everything, and with the new pickup, which is this lad here. So this is the first of the parts that we're going to be installing for the new kit. So let's pop that in first of all. So the vacuum canister would have been there. So I just want to make sure I get this in the correct orientation. So the vacuum canister would have been there. So that will go there like that. And I'm just going to pop that in. And we'll get our screws in place with our little brackets to hold that on as well. Little hole left here on the side from where the vacuum canister goes. I'm going to have to see if I can come up with a solution to cover that over. But we'll come back to that at a later stage anyway. So this is the Hall effect module, and Hall effect basically is, as far as I understand, it's a type of transistor that when you pass a magnet in front of it, it reacts, and it means it's essentially contactless. And but anyway, you don't really need to know that. It's just a little kind of FYI, so to speak. So that's going to go like that, and then there's a geek. So herein lies the first challenge we've come up on. See, this little notch here is supposed to line up with that there, and by pushing the this along too far, it's essentially what it's done is it means that doesn't go in. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take that nut and bolt out. I'm going to take this whole assembly out, take the nut and bolt out, elongate that hole ever so slightly so that it can move around. And because at least we kind of know that the positioning is correct or where we need to be. And then we can get that installed then again. Okay, so I have drilled a new hole actually and positioned it a little bit better, and actually used a different nut and bolt because just the way it worked out is actually just a little bit neater, to be honest with you. So that's that. So now what we can do is hopefully install our Hall effect sensor. So there's a little dimple there on this that slots into a hole over here, and then that goes there, and then that lines up perfectly. So we're all good on that now. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to get the screw into that now. I would have liked if it had come with a screw, to be honest with you, but it didn't. So fortunately enough, I have a couple of spare distributor screws from the removal of the... Yeah, that's good enough. From the removal of the vacuum advanced canister. So that's that in, and there's a collar now that has to go on. So this is the actual magnet that does that triggers the mechanism. Okay, and that's that. To be honest with you, I'm kind of wondering if I could actually just have used the Pertronics kit that was already in it. But look, this has the correct terminals and all that on it, and we know it's made for the setup. So I'll keep the Pertronics kit for something else. And the other thing as well now I'm looking at is that is a square cross section, and this hole is round. The pursuit of perfection is the greatest detriment to completion of a project. Conveniently enough, the little nut and bolt that I've actually installed to hold that plate in place Actually also holds that in place too. So that'll go through there, and job's a good one. Right, okay, so that's essentially our distributor modified. That's all there is to it. So next thing to do now is I am going to probably just give it a little bit of a clean. I'm trying to straighten out that bracket as well. It's a bit bogey looking. It looks like it's been smashed up a few times. And let's see, what else can we do with it? Probably reinstall it in the car, to be honest with you. Aircraft speed tape. If it's good enough for an airplane, it's good enough for my Beetle. Right, moving back over to the car, I am going to take out the HT leads altogether. I've actually got new ones ordered. I got the flamethrower HT leads. And to be honest with you, these ones, I got them, they were a bit cheaper, but I wasn't all that happy with the quality of them. They don't fit as well as they should. So, I'll keep them for something else, you know, but for this car, we're looking for just that little bit better. So, come on, out you get. Why is that stuck? There we go. Right, now, get them out of the way. I'm just going to pop that back onto the distributor for the time being, and we're going to get the distributor back in. And the reason I'm putting it on now is because it'll just keep the dust out of it and stuff like that as well, and just keep it nice and clean. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set about taking off the carburetors, because at this point in time they're just going to be in the way, so let's get them out now. Just putting the nut and washer here on the distributor clamp at the back here, and we're going to just tighten that up, and then I'll get the distributor cap back on. Pop the rotor arm back on as well while we're at it. That's just backlashing the gears, by the way. That's not the advanced mechanism working. Alright, so get that on there. Oh God. The carbon spud in the middle just broke off. New distributor cap needed. Bugger anyway. That was really annoying. Oh look, I'll just put it on for the moment. I wouldn't mind, I only just ordered the HT leads yesterday. I could have ordered a new distributor cap while I was at it. Right, so I'm going to set about removing the carburetors now. We don't need to do anything more with the distributor at this point in time. Things like the plug that goes on the end of these wires, we will do that at a later stage. I'm obviously going to order a new distributor cap. Look, I'm not going to get this done today anyway, so I mean, we're still a way away from actually needing the distributor to work properly, and in any case I'd say it actually probably still will work in that state. But yeah, for the time being, let's get these carburetors out of our way and we can start having a look and seeing what we're dealing with then, and start positioning things like getting the harness into place and the throttle bodies, the injectors, locations for the likes of sensors and all that sort of stuff as well. So there's a good bit to do, so let's not hang about. To be honest with you, the fact that I have access holes cut in the insides of the wings should tell you all you need to know about why I'm replacing the carburetors with fuel injection. I think Weber carburetors are severely overrated. They're great in race cars when you're talking wide open throttle and all of that sort of stuff, but for daily driving, they're a pain in the ass. At least they have been for me. Got the car up on axle stands, so it makes access a bit easier. And I also opened up the access port in the inner wing, as this one was proven to be difficult. There we go. Brake booster vacuum line. And yes, there's a brake servo in this car. Right, okay, so that gives us our access to everything. So that is our brake booster line there. And get that out of there. And then these are obviously our fuel lines, which are our feed lines at the moment, but are going to be our return lines. So what we're going to use is the existing fuel supply pipe that goes through the chassis for our fuel return, and we're going to run a new high pressure fuel line through the car. Alright, and the reason I'm pulling this out is because I want to drain the fuel tank. Right, so I have my jerry can in position here, and I'm actually just going to use the car's fuel pump to pump out the tank. And yeah, then at least we can, it'll make removal of the tank an awful lot easier. I think there's about a quarter tank in it, but we'll find out soon enough, and I'll just keep an eye on the level in that. It's a 20 litre tank, so if there's anything less than a half a tank in it, it should fit. So let's see how we go. Yeah, it'll take a little while, but it'll do the trick. Right, so back on the bench, we are separating the carburetors from the manifolds. So it's obviously manifolds, but need to take our velocity stacks off this one. Now, that comes off there, and then this one comes off, and we're going to be reusing this. This is our filter base plate, so that'll be actually getting used again. But this bit is no longer being used, and there goes our Weber 40 IDF carburetors. Now this gave me a fright. The stud is missing from this, and that was not missing when I put it in. So where it went, I'm not sure, but I'm going to have to borescope the engine, just make 100% sure that that's not where it went, because if it did, it's going to have made shit of the engine, and I sincerely hope that is not what happened. I don't think it is, though. I can't be that unlucky. You use nylock nuts so that they don't come loose and the whole bloody stud comes out instead, which is a great little trick. It really looks like it actually just unthreaded. Anyway, right, that's the carbs out of the way. This was a stupid place to put this. It is right in the way of the HT lead for the spark plug. I should have put it around here. Anyway, I may end up actually relocating it and trying to weld that up. I mean, I can't weld aluminium, but a lot of people would say I can't weld steel either, but there you go. Anyway, we'll maybe just drill that port there as well. And what I might do is actually try and get a T-piece and take the vacuum off 2 different points. Up at the front of the car, I'm going to start removing the fuel tank. So, it's fiddly. And the first thing I need to do is to remove the fresh air blower. This is actually out of a Ford Granada, I think it is. But it works a treat. That sugar. Right, okay, that's that. So yeah, basically all I did was I blocked off the vent at the top of the bonnet, cut a hole in the wiper motor cover here, and this blower blows air into the inside of that, and it comes out in the dashboard, and it actually works really well. Obviously it's cold air, but I mean, look at it, when you're trying to demist the car, cold air works to some degree. It's better than nothing. So let's drag this lump out of here. Oh, that's much easier. Now, there's our fuel tank. Okay, so I got a set of these pipe barbs here, which I'm going to install one of in the fuel tank, and I'm going to put it here right beside the sender, and just drill a little hole, 10mm, and we'll clamp this in, put an O-ring on it and that as well, and that should do us nicely. So start with drilling a pilot hole. Yeah, here I'll do fine. Is that big enough? Yes, it is. And that will do the trick. Right, so I'm going to pop an O-ring on this. Put that in there. That'll that'll do the job absolutely perfect. So we'll just try and get our nut on the far side. Now this is going to be a little bit tricky. I'll show you a trick. Take a bit of grease onto your finger. It's going to hold that in place. Make sure you have your tongue at the right angle when you're doing this as well. Okay, so the nut is in place there on that. We just get it tightened up now. Okay, put that there with the vice grips. Perfect. That'll do nicely. So there's our fuel return sorted out. I have the harness all laid out here now, so this is going to be the next thing we're going to tackle. I have the pipe barb in the fuel tank, so that's kind of all I'm going to do with that for the moment, because next thing I want to do is I want to get everything else positioned, and then what we can do then is run the fuel lines down to the engine. But all of this has to go in there. So what I understand is the wiring is going to come up along with the existing wiring for the car as well. So there are big lumps of foam stuck in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that out first of all, and then what I might do is get like a piece of tube or something like that and feed it through, and then have a look and see what sort of lengths we're dealing with, because I haven't gotten a definitive answer as to the exact routing of this. So it's going to be a little bit of trial and error on this, but bear with me. Right, there has been an awful lot of head scratching going on about the routing of the harness, and the fact that the hole saw is out would suggest that I unfortunately have to drill holes in the bodywork in order to route this correctly. I tried routing it alongside the existing harness and it's just not long enough, and to be honest with you, it's fairly crammed up there anyway, and I made shite of one of my bloody fresh air ducts as well, which I'm annoyed about, but I'll just have to pick new ones of them up. Right, anyway, what I'm going to do is, in here is a void, and that opens up to underneath the car. So I'm actually going to drill one hole there, and probably about an inch and a quarter hole, and I'm going to do the same on the other side. Then that'll get us access to the engine bay, and at a later stage what I'll do is I'll pick up a few grommets that will fill in those holes, and then next thing I need to do is going inside the car. We need to make holes down here behind the back seat as well for the routing of the harness, and again more grommets will seal everything up, and I'll try and get some plastic conduit or something like that just to route the harness through, that will kind of keep things safe. I think I might have some in somewhere anyway, but yeah, it will it's just kind of belt and braces. I mean the harness is all well wrapped up and everything like that as well. Alright, wish me luck, folks. Ah, you absolute bastard. Well, the little drill bit in the middle, the pilot bit, broke in the middle of the hole saw. Okay, so in here I have a hole drilled in behind the insulation board. Same on the other side, and if you go under the car, I'll show you now what we're dealing with. We have another hole just above the duct for the heaters. So the wire's going to come in through there and just go literally across from there over to there and go into the engine bay. So it's the shortest distance between 2 points, really. And to tell you the truth, it's absolutely good enough. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to temporarily just route the harness through so we can get the correct positioning of things like the idle air valve and the other bits and pieces that need to go in the engine bay, and then at least once we know where all that stuff is going, we can kind of work back from there and start positioning stuff. I know I'm going to have to make up a bracket for the idle air valve, so I probably will position it on the firewall at the back here, but the other thing as well is I probably use riv nuts to attach it, but not 100% sure on that one yet either. So yeah, let's just keep ploughing forward and seeing what the next step is. Yeah, let's get that harness installed loosely here now. Right, so I've routed the harness through And there's two for our injectors, these lads here. Okay, so they're going to be, I'll just hook them up over there for a second. And that is coolant, it's labelled, but that's going to be for our cylinder head temperature. Air temperature sensor there, so that'll be on top of the air filter housing. And then we have the likes of the trigger sensor, ignition coil, and that's pretty much it, to be honest with you. There's the other one underneath the car for a lambda sensor as well, and that doesn't technically need to come into the engine bay. In actual fact, it definitely doesn't need to come into the engine bay because it's going onto the exhaust. So what we probably do is see if there's enough slack in the cable that goes onto that to be able to connect onto the lambda probe without the connector actually being inside in the exposed environment under the car and basically in under the comfort of the back seat. And we have this one here as well, which is what idle valve. Okay, geez, they really didn't give you much space for that bloody idle valve. Where the hell did they expect you to put that? It's kind of only one place I can put it now at that rate. That was the kind of the next thing that I was going to be kind of querying. So it'll have to go up here. So all right. Well, if that's the way it's supposed to be, that's the way it's supposed to be. Okay, so I'm gonna make a mark there on that the firewall. All right, so the idle valve is gonna go there. So it still gives us plenty of clearance in fairness for everything. So I think we're pretty good there. And then like the ignition coil and what about our ignition air temperature sensor, coolant? Oh, hang on. Yeah, that one's there. That's the idle valve. Air temp sensor, coolant, ignition coil, trigger sensor, injectors, idle valve. Yeah, there's another one there as well that I need to feed in. So yeah, the last connector is the one for the ignition module, which I was actually hoping to mount on the fan shroud as well, but there isn't really provision for that or room for it. So what we can do is we can actually mount it up here and could get that in now. Actually, that would be a nice the first thing. And to be honest with you, I'm just thinking there's nothing actually stopping us from just leaving the harness in now. Like, I mean, I don't actually have to pull it back out again for any particular reason. And if I do, it's not the end of the world. But to be honest with you, it's all quite neat. So that's yeah, let's get that ignition module mounted in there. A couple of holes to be drilled, and yeah, that's one thing. And then the idle air valve I'm going to make a bracket for. Okay, so I've been a little bit busy off camera, but nothing too major that I've gotten done. The ignition module is installed over here and is up against the inner wing, so that's all sorted. And I've installed the idle air valve and fuel pressure regulator, both sharing the same bolts, but I may end up moving this over a little bit more. I actually just fabricated that bracket there, so it's fine at the moment, but I just think I might need a little bit of clearance on that. But for the time being, let's just work with it. Now, the other thing as well is looking at the filter base on the throttle bodies. Obviously, I still need to clean it up. The bolt holes don't line up is one issue, so I need to drill these out a little bit. And the other thing as well is there's a right big hole here, and that's just not going to work because all that's going to happen is air's just going to get in there instead and will be unfiltered air. So we need to block that off as well. So I have to try and come up with some sort of a solution to that issue. I actually kind of find this mildly irritating. The whole thing was that these throttle bodies were supposed to be a direct replacement for the IDF carburetors. So if they're supposed to be a direct replacement, they should take the same footprint and should consider the fact that you may be using the same filter housings, because they don't come with new filter housings. So now I'm getting into a whole mess of fabrication and all this kind of stuff, like, and I really don't want to have to do that. But yeah, look, I'll come up with something anyway. I have a couple of ideas up my sleeve anyway, involving a piece of aluminium sheeting and stuff like that. But still in all, it's still annoying, and yeah, well, look, it's just another little thing to overcome. Stuff like this is what takes ages to make, but that's going to sit on there like that. And then we can take our filter base, and that will go on around like that. And I've elongated the holes in the filter base as well. So we'll be able to get our bolts in there and attach that to the throttle bodies. And what that means is That hole there is filled in and the two little holes there are filled in. So the only place the air is going to come from is through the filter. Now I just need to make one more of them. And there we have it, 2 blanking plates, solving a problem that should never have existed in the first place. The next annoyance for me is that they actually spot welded the throttle lever onto the spindles rather than nut and washer. The problem with that is that I cannot put the linkage mechanism on for my bell crank linkage because it doesn't fit. It needs to push instead of pull. So that really annoys me again. So now I have to try and figure out, is there a way of modifying this so that I can actually attach the bell crank linkage? It's just little things, like, you know. But I mean, those Gen V throttle bodies are not cheap, you know. And okay, yeah, fair enough, the quality is pretty much there, but there's just a few little things, and they're irritating me a bit. Like that type of carry on, having to like finding the holes in the top are ever so slightly out from the standard IDF filter base. I mean, just either do it right, do it as a footprint of the original IDF carburetors, or don't. But don't do it half-assed. The other thing as well that I found is the studs sticking up from the manifolds did not fit into the holes in the bottom of the throttle bodies. So I had to drill them out. Ever so slightly, but I still had to drill them out. And again, not good enough. Now that I've got the filter bases kind of sorted out, it's time to fit the fuel injectors. And straight away, I foresee another issue here. So let's just get them in first of all, and then we'll see what we need to do to come up with a solution. So yeah, first of all, I'm just going to put a little bit of seal grease on the O-rings that are already fitted to these injectors. Right, now here's our fuel rail. It's going to go on here. I suppose what makes sense is probably to put the injectors in the fuel rail first off, and then I'll go into the throttle body. And here is our fasteners and our spacers. And because of the fact that we have spacers and that's sitting higher than that, I don't think that's going to fit underneath the bloody throttle plate or the filter base. The reason I'm so hell-bent on getting the filter base on is because if I can't use the linkage for my like my bell crank linkage, I'm going to have to use the CB Performance hex bar linkage, and you need these brackets in order to use that. So I mean, I feel like I'm getting thwarted at every turn here. So anyway, right, look, let's just plow on and figure things out as we go. And but I can certainly see the reasoning behind Gen V do a heritage throttle body set, which basically takes the exact shape of the CB before, or the Weber carburetors. Now that's all well and good, but what it doesn't tell you is that if you don't buy that, they're not a neat fitment. You know, I kind of thought that the reasoning behind them was just literally so that you could keep the engine looking stock if that was your inclination, which for me it's not. So that goes there. This goes here. I presume the shorter bolts are for if you're not using such tall injectors. So let's tighten them down. All right, so there's the injectors fitted now, and it's a smart looking setup, I will give it that much. But and this is going to be for the left side of the engine, and then we're going to do the same with the other side. So let's just stick it onto the manifold. Still need to clean up the manifolds and that as well, but for the time being, like, everything is going to be kind of cleaned up before sort of being permanently fitted to the engine. My other concern here is, am I going to have enough clearance under the engine lid now for... I don't think I am. If there's one thing I hate on VWs, and I'm probably on my own on this, or in the minority, I hate deck lid standoffs. I just think they look absolutely stupid. and I will not be running them. Like the deck lid standoffs, they just ruined the lines of the car, you know? I mean, the whole thing I like about Beetles is the kind of the sweep from the top of the windscreen right the way down to the back bumper. And by putting a deck lid standoff on it, you ruin that line, and I just don't get it. Like, I mean, I know sometimes necessity comes into play there, but yeah. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents on it. So, let's get rid of that. Now, let's just offer this up in the car and see how we're looking. As time goes on, I'm getting more and more frustrated, to be honest with you. I've got the fuel rails on now, right? And I cannot get the carburetor, the manifold to sit down onto the heads. The only thing I can think of is that what I need to do is put the fuel rail on after. Like, I've actually even taken off the pipe fitting there, because there's no way that's going to work. It's going to be up against there, so I literally have to get a right angle fitting for that or something. And like, it's supposed to be plug and play. It's supposed to fit, like, you know, I mean, and it doesn't. That does not fit. Whatever way you twist and turn it. So what I need to do now is I'm going to try and take this off and put the manifold in, and with the throttle bodies on, and then put this back on and with it in situ. But like, yeah, I'll give it a go. And you see, even after we get all of this sort of stuff sorted out, we still have the issue to deal with of the filters and the linkage. So, why is that not going down? There we go. Right. If I put the fuel rails and injectors on there now, is that going to actually even work for me? So the wire will go out of the way there. Might actually just stick a nut on the manifold there to keep it down. We can come up with an air filter solution further down the line if I can just get the linkage to at least work. I suppose looking at the push rods on the bell crank linkage, why can I never remember the name of that thing? The bell crank linkage. I suppose you can adjust it. You can twist them around the other way so that they pull instead of push. But I don't know whether it will even work in that context. We'll find out soon enough. I'll actually have a look now in a minute and see. Let's get the injector sorted out here first of all. So that's in loosely there now. It's not going anywhere, but it's in its correct position. So I'm going to put in the injectors now. I mean, I know the engine bay of a Beetle is tight, but like, when the guys were designing this kit, did they actually look at a Beetle? Like, all right, there's that injector in as well, and then that one there. Right, so that'll all work. Right, I'm going to just shelve the setup on the left-hand side of the car and just focus on the one on the right. I've actually just given the manifold a little bit of a clean, because what I'm actually going to do is bolt it together now permanently, and at least that way then we can kind of move forward on something, because at this stage of the game I'm feeling a little frustrated and a little bit lacking in progress. So let's get these out of here anyway, first of all. We've O-rings then for the base of the throttle bodies instead of the gaskets that would have been on it originally. So I get my seal grease here and get a little bit of this on it. Now it comes with these bolts, which are actually the same diameter. So what I'm thinking is I might actually see if I can unthread those studs and just use those bolts instead. Maybe that's the way to go with this. Okay, so yeah, the studs do come out, so let's go down that route. Okay, so the right-hand carburetor did go in an awful lot easier, to be honest with you. There are still issues, namely that is not going to be getting a pipe on it anytime soon. So I think what I'll do is I'll pick up 4 right-angle fittings for these lads, and then we need to try and figure out why the hell I can't get this one on. I mean, to be honest with you, I could probably clearance the inner wing ever so slightly there, which will buy us the space we need, but I don't want to have to be doing that kind of shite, like, to be honest with you. So Yeah, like that one there is only in temporarily. This one here, to be honest, can stay in now. Even the wiring is connected, as I said. It's got, I sort of looped the wiring around the outside and up into the injectors here and onto the throttle position sensor there. I may change that. Actually, probably will change it, to be honest with you. It's a bit bulky. Yeah, look, we'll do it the other way. They're nice connectors, I'll say that much. To be honest with you, all of the stuff the classic fuel injection did is absolutely fantastic. It's the stuff that Genvi did is the stuff that I'm not happy about, to tell you the truth. So, yeah, I mean, it just isn't an off-the-shelf kind of fitment at all, and that's kind of what, to me, it was sold as. I really do hate myself for having done this, to be honest with you, but to tell you the truth, if it gets me the clearance I need to get the fuel injectors in, then so be it. I will tidy it up a bit better, but I just gave it a little coat of satin black for the moment. But yeah, it means at least now that that throttle body will actually fit with the injectors on it. On the basis that I now have some sort of a solution in mind for getting the injectors installed on the left-hand throttle body, I've installed it there now, so we're kind of we can move forward in that respect and get a few other connections made. I'll just show you where we're at now up close. Being that this engine's air-cooled, obviously, we have to figure out a different solution for the cylinder head temperature, or coolant temperature as it would be normally. And what we've done is put a ring terminal, the sensor here came with a ring terminal on it, so I've put the ring terminal under the nut that holds the manifold on. So that should give us a fairly reliable cylinder head temperature reading for the purposes of what we're trying to achieve. It doesn't need to be accurate, it just needs to show that it's actually heated up. That was my phone ringing. More bloody scam calls. They drive me nuts. Okay, so we have our coolant temperature sensor, we have our idle air valve, we have our fuel pressure regulator, our throttle position sensor is on the back of this carburetor, that's connected up and everything as well. We need to get our intake air temperature sorted out. We have our distributor all taken care of and just need to put the connector on the end of those wires and plug that in. And we need to install our we actually have our ignition module installed in there as well. So that's actually done. So yeah, progress is being made despite the setbacks. Next thing we need to do is to come up with something for the throttle linkage, come up with something for the fueling, find a home for the intake air temperature sender, and figure out the air filters, and yeah, then we can start kind of connecting things up like fuel and all that kind of stuff. But I think this is a pretty good jumping off point at this moment. So I'm going to leave it here on this video, and we're going to pick this up in the next video where I move forward with what we were discussing there. And I will do a bit of head scratching in the meantime and ask a few questions, kind of come up with a few solutions and that as well. I think the first thing I need to do is get a right angle fuel fitting for that injector fuel rail. Trying to remember the terminology is proving difficult at times as well, and my head is fried. So anyway, I will chat to you soon. Please hit the subscribe button before you go. It really helps my channel along, and I really do appreciate it. And I'll keep you updated with my progress on this and other projects on the go as well. And I will see you in a future video. Thank you very much for watching.